of, the prices, all the prices that you incur if you're charged with a DUI. And just to recap, 2,547 sober people were arrested from 2017 to 2024 in Tennessee. This is unacceptable. A shout out to, forgive me for mispronouncing her name, State Senator Ramesh Akbari, who helped implement this law that keeps law enforcement accountable. It's unacceptable that so many people, 419 people in 2024 alone, were arrested and they were sober. That means zero alcohol in their system and zero drugs in their system. So that is, unacceptable, and hopefully this will bring accountability and change. We were going through, if you're arrested for a DUI and you don't have any drugs or alcohol in your system, you incur a lot of cost. Just to recap, there's bail or bond. Bail goes to the clerk, bond goes to a bond company. That's the first cost that you usually incur. Maybe second one, if you miss some work because you were arrested, either wrongfully or it was appropriate for the officer to arrest you. You may incur ignition interlock device. That's a device that's put on your vehicle, it may be while your case is pending in some instances, or if it's part of your conditions of probation. There's cost to that. An ignition interlock you have to have on your vehicle to start it and to keep it going. Some DUI, second, third, fourth, require transdermal ankle monitor, where that measures your alcohol contents via your skin. In rare instances, you need a GPS ankle monitor. One of the other costs that you're going to incur is towing and impound fees. If your car is towed from the scene, and it will be taken to a police impound lot, and then you're going to have to pay for the towing costs, and you're going to have to pay for the cost for the vehicle being there. And if it's part of the investigation, they won't give it back until the investigation or case is over. Whether you go before court or as part of your plea agreement, you may have to go to want to go to the DUI center instead of jail. It's a jail alternative, and there's cost to that. You may want to go to therapy to help build your case up so you can try to get your case reduced or dismissed. I would always recommend going and doing an alcohol assessment and follow the recommendations. So there's a cost to that. Oftentimes, other treatment, if you need rehab or anything like that, there might be costs to that, or your insurance can cover it. If your case is dismissed with court costs, or you do end up pleading to DUI or found guilty, you're going to have court costs and probably fines. Your insurance will go up because if you have a DUI, conviction, you're going to have to get an SR-22 certificate of insurance showing that you constantly have insurance. You're going to have driver's license reinstatement fees. Again, loss of work, but this is different in this category. Missed work, you may lose your job because you have a DUI conviction. So I have a lot of clients that are doctors, nurses, professionals, CDL drivers, and all of these folks are risking losing their job, at least for a period of time, if they get a DUI conviction. So a lot is riding on this. And so that's why it's important to get an attorney that focuses on DUIs. If you have probation, you're going to have probation costs. You're going to have to do alcohol safety course, which is a class, maybe the victim impact panel, also another class. And if you go to jail, you're going to have to do jail, which is a time cost, and it just sucks to be in jail. There's a cost to that. You're going to have, of course, attorney's fees. And if you were here vacationing, or you were here for work, or just visiting somebody and you got a DUI, then you're going to have your travel costs. You're going to have flight in and out of state. You're going to have, if you drove, you're going to have gas costs. If you need a hotel or Airbnb, you're going to have those costs. If you needed to rent a car or Uber or Lyft, there's going to be costs right there. And you're going to, of course, have to eat at restaurants or figure out food while you're here. And then if we need experts, if your case is going to go to trial, it's oftentimes we want experts, accident reconstruction, et cetera, or even as simply as, a second opinion, having an expert talk about your blood and drugs, their interactions, because a lot of times the blood's low, but there's some drugs in your system, even if the prescription and the district attorney's office, says that rises to the level of, impairment beyond what's reasonable. And so then you have about all the experts on what's who's going to win there. And so whether you were impaired beyond what was reasonable or not. And so we have a list, here, and we send this to people that contact us if you want it. But then we just go through and you list all that. You can see what your total DUI costs were. And so just to recap, we started out, the first segment was 2,547 people were arrested for DUI from 2017 to 2024. One would be too many, but there was a lot of people being arrested for DUI that were actually sober, no drugs and no alcohol, but they still had to incur almost every single one of these costs. And that's just not right. Then if you're arrested and you were sober, then you have to deal with trying to get it off your record and then having it in the system for law enforcement, showing that you were arrested for DUI when in fact you were sober and you had no drugs or alcohol in your system. It's absolutely insane that this is happening. And so that was the first segment. Then we went over in detail all the pricing. And if anybody has any questions, just shoot them over to me on YouTube. I'll be happy to answer them. Next, one of the most common questions and things that I have experienced in 15 years of being a DUI and criminal defense attorney is the unknown. People are so scared and overwhelmed when they're arrested. It's because they don't do this. I represent great people, and we fight their DUIs, and a lot of times they're super successful in their careers in life, and then this is scary because your freedom can be taken away. And so one of the things that we do is we give our clients a roadmap so you know what to expect. And so the important thing to remember is there's two major courts that you will go to if you want to end up having a jury trial. The first one is a smaller court where most cases start. There's exceptions to the case starting here, but if a cop witnesses a crime happening and they investigate and they arrest you, then it starts in General Sessions Court. That's the main way a case starts in General Sessions Court. If a case is going to go to circuit court directly, the officer usually didn't see it, they investigate, then they direct present it to the grand jury. So we're going to talk about General Sessions Court because that's where most DUIs start. Now, it's helpful, again, when you're doing something that you're not familiar with, you don't do every day, you don't need to go to law school to figure it out. You invest in an attorney that focuses in that area. So if you have a DUI, I highly recommend you hire someone like me, DUI Nash, to help you with your case. If you have, any other type of charge, if you have a, domestic assault or, attempted murder, then it's probably best to hire an attorney that focuses on those. Now, could attorneys do multiple things? Yes, I've done multiple things. My focus right now is on DUIs. And so if you have a DUI and you're going to court in General Sessions, what I'm focused on is three things. I'm focused on, number one, we're focused on limiting jail, fighting to keep you out of jail. Number two, I'm focused on limiting the damage to your record. So if we can get a DUI reduced to reckless endangerment, to aggravated reckless driving, or to reckless driving, that's a win. The caveat, if you're an immigrant and you want to think twice about pleading to reckless endangerment because that's a specific intent crime and it could have severe immigration consequences. And then generally, a reduction is better. The third thing that we fight for is we fight to help get your life back on track, and ideally, helping you create new habits and having systems in place. So if you drink when you're stressed, or if you drink when you go out, just to have fun, then you plan ahead to make sure that you don't have this happen again. And so that's the three goals we have in your case. So let's go over that. When you go to court, you want to make sure you're there on time and there on time for docket call. You have 5 options in General Sessions Court. Number 1, you negotiate a plea agreement. Number 2, you have a preliminary hearing. Number 3, you waive the hearing. Number 4, you have a bench trial. The judge determines if you're guilty or not guilty. We don't recommend doing that in most cases. And number 5, we can continue it for a new court date. And so those are the 5 options, and it really helps people narrow down their focus and realize, hey, the attorney's fighting for 3 things, and there's really only 5 main options in General Sessions Court. So oftentimes, when you go to your first court date, the officer's not there, so they call that first appearance. You go there, the judge makes sure you have an attorney, and make sure if you need an interpreter, everything's settled, and then you come back on a date when they subpoena the officer to be there, and that's when we would work the case. And during the time that you're set to go to court, during that time you're arrested to your actual court date, you want to be doing the things on a to-do list to make sure that you win your case. So that's the main things when you're going to court, and the overwhelm, if you can just understand that there's 3 goals and then there's 5 options. So let's go over a DUI punishment. So a DUI first has 11 months and 29 days jail max sentence. Oftentimes that's suspended after 48 hours or up to 7 days if your blood alcohol is 0.15 or higher. There's a $350 fine, minimum fine, and court costs. You're often required to go to alcohol safety school and victim impact panel, and you lose your license for 1 year. Your interlock is required. It used to be they either did interlock or geographic restrictions, and I always recommend my clients choose interlock because then there's no geographic restrictions. The blood alcohol content levels, 0.08 to 0.149, minimum 48 hours in jail, mandatory. If it's 0.15 or higher, 7 days jail. If you're under 21, I've helped a lot of clients with this, it has a lot lower blood alcohol level, 0.02 or higher, and it's considered a DUI, and you're looking at 48 hours. And then if you're a juvenile, you're under 18, any alcohol could land you via petition into juvenile court. And of course, if there's other circumstances like a crash or if somebody's hurt, you're looking at a lot more jail and a lot more penalties possible. And some, jail sucks, and some courts have realized this, and also that some people can learn their lesson by going to a DUI center. And so there's multiple DUI centers in Tennessee. There's one in Nashville. There's one in Christiana. There's one in Cookeville. Maybe more of that, but that I'm not aware of. But those DUI centers, if you go to those before court, some counties accept it, some don't. So just talk to your attorney before you go to see if it makes sense to go on your case. So there's that. You want to prepare for court, and you want to make sure that when you go to court, you bring all the items with you that you need. Even if you sent them to your attorney, you want to bring those with you. And then that is that. You have certain rights in court. I'm not going to bore you with these, but you have certain rights, and there's a whole list of them that the court gives you or reads to you. But the main ones are: you have a right to an attorney, you have a right to a preliminary hearing if you're in general sessions court, you have a right to confront and cross-examine witnesses, you have a right to testify or not testify that can be used against you if you don't, you have a right for your case to go to the grand jury for them to find probable cause, and you have a right to appeal if you lost at any issues or at trial. And those there's a lot of rights in detail, but again, I won't go over them. But it's just good to be aware of your rights and read those before you actually take a plea, because you need to do it knowingly and voluntarily. And most judges ask you, if you're under the influence of any alcohol or drugs that may affect your decision. And one of the major things I always talk about is, to shut the F up. It's really important, whether you're stopped by law enforcement, whether you're in the back of the car on the way to the jail, whether you are in jail and talking to people in the jail, whether you're calling on the phone to your loved one or somebody to get you out, or afterwards, just don't talk about your case, and definitely don't talk to law enforcement about your case. And it's so important to shut the F up. The amount of people that could probably avoid being arrested or avoid having worse charges are pretty great if they would just follow this one thing. So just remember to shut the F up, and just remember, don't drink and drive. And if you do find yourself arrested for a DUI and you were sober, definitely invest in the best attorney you can and fight your case, because it should be dismissed if it is no alcohol and no drugs in your system. And if anybody has any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. Oh, hold on one second. Okay, so I have a question. How much should a DUI attorney cost? Well, the cost of a DUI attorney varies. If you wanted to hire an, or you didn't have any money to hire an attorney, you could apply for the public defender or have somebody appointed to you. That's always an option. You have a constitutional right in Tennessee to have an attorney. And then if you wanted a general attorney that just does everything, they're probably going to be lower range. They could be anywhere from $500 to $3,500. If you want an attorney that focuses on DUIs, then you're looking at 2,500, upwards of 25,000. And so it really depends on your position, your resources, and your caliber of attorney that you want. If you want somebody that just focuses on that, I prefer when I'm hiring services, I get tons, because I'm an attorney, I get tons of inbound marketers contacting me and asking me to sign up for this or sign up for that. And I can screen them out so easily now, because if they tell me they can do everything, I won't use them. It's a good litmus test, because they haven't learned the secret to niching down and to focusing on one thing and solving one problem. And so you definitely should look at cost, but cost is not in a vacuum. I mean, most people look at the price and that's how they buy, but you really want to look at the result that somebody can provide to you. A great example is, if I tell you that I have a car for sale for $5,000, you have no way to gauge whether that's a good deal or not. If I tell you the car for sale for $5,000 doesn't drive and the engine doesn't work, and but it's really nice, you're probably not going to think there's a good deal, and you're not going to see the value. It stopped again. Okay. So hopefully I'm back live. Sorry, having technical difficulties. If the car was $5,000 and it didn't run, you wouldn't want it. If I told you it's $5,000 and it was a Lamborghini, that's perfect condition, it would be a heck of a deal. So it just really depends. And so that's what you got to look at when you're looking at the cost of attorney. You have to look at what they're going to do for you throughout the process, and then what does the end result look like? Are you going to walk away from there confused because your attorney didn't have a heart of a teacher, or was a public or not just public defender, or were too busy and they didn't communicate with you? Because that's usually the biggest complaint, is the attorney didn't communicate with their clients. And so that's really, what is the end result is important, but more so than the end result is you understand why you ended up where you were, why the result was what it was. And so it's really an investment. You have to know not only what you're getting, but does the attorney have a heart of a teacher? And then, what is the possible outcomes going to be? Most people are upset about the attorney because they didn't communicate effectively. Because, if you explain, for example, that they have this evidence, this, and how that might go at a jury trial, if you eventually go to a jury trial and the odds of winning are very low, then they can properly assess whether the investment in time, energy, resources, capacity, and attention is worth it. But if you don't give them that information as the attorney, then they're just kind of flying in the dark and they don't know, and they're just going to be confused. And a confused mind is usually a negative one. They're not going to think highly of you or refer you or anything if you don't explain things to them. So we take pride in explaining the process, the options, and then we work for our clients. We're the attorney, but we work for them, and they decide if they want to move forward or not. So why did I decide to do DUI cases? I realized something. I realized a pattern. I found this principle called the Pareto's principle, and it's the 80-20 rule. And I found that 80% of my clients are the best clients. All my clients are good, but 80% were the best. And I realized that there was 20% of my clients. Hold on, let me rephrase it. So the Pareto's principle is 80% of your results come from 20% of your clients. And this applies to all kinds of different things, from farming to, everything. And so I realized the 80% of my great best clients were, all of them came from DUI cases. And so I just realized that great people get charged with DUIs every day, every week, every month. And it's people that are, doing one of two things. They're excited. They go out and celebrate something. They go out and celebrate the birth of a child, got a job raise, family's in town, vacation, whatever. Or they were anxious. They lost a loved one. They broke up with their partner. They were doing something in response to being anxious or overwhelmed or more of a negative emotion. And so I realized even doesn't matter which one they were doing, they're usually great people and professionals and blue collar workers all across the board. They were great people, and so that's why I decided to focus on DUIs, because I help great people fight their DUIs. What is my best course of action if I hit a deer while driving? Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate for you and your car, and of course the deer. Your best course of action in Tennessee, if you're in an accident, I've never looked this up, but I would assume it's similar. If you're in an accident in Tennessee, you have a duty to report it. If not, you can get charged with leaving the scene. I would just make sure that you're okay. And if it's a busy road, I would make sure that you get out of the road, and I would call and report that to the police. So that way you don't get possibly a charge of leaving the scene of an accident. But yeah, that's unfortunate for you, your car, and the deer. And then you want to make sure that you comply with your insurance requirements to report accidents and to get that report repaired. So yeah, so that's it for today. So I want to recap: 2,547 people were arrested from 2017 to 2024, and they were sober. They were arrested for DUI and they were sober. I'm really, really pleased that the legislation has passed laws to make this reporting public, and this will help hold law enforcement accountable and take it seriously, because if you're arrested, and if you're arrested, you incur tons of cost. I went over that price list of all the costs that are involved in a DUI. And if you want that, go to 615nashlaw.com and just submit a contact form and say, send me the pricing list. We'll be happy to send that to you for free. And if you have any other questions, you want to just reach out, go to the website, 615nashlaw.com, or call us at 615-NASH-LAW. That's 615-627-4529. I'm DUI Nash. Thanks for